Opening day at one of Thoroughbred Racing's great cathedrals here. So much history, even looking back through that virtual yearbook of the 2019 Winter Meet. We are off and running here at beautiful Gulfstream Park, the new and improved Gulfstream Park. And how about the weather? Just idyllic conditions in Hallandale Beach. Plenty of sun, blue sky, and pristine turf conditions and main track conditions. It is good to be back home here. Our 2-month stint over at Gulfstream Park West in Miami Gardens has come to an end, and that means it's time for day number 1, opening day of the championship meet. Jason Blewett, Ron Nicoletti alongside. Not your first rodeo, Ronnie, but again, the sort of buzz and just the overall magic, for want of a better word or term, on a day like today. I mean, it never gets old.
Well, if you're a horse racing fan and like me, you get goosebumps each and every year that opening day comes, and the beautiful weather, fast main track, firm turf course, the building's looking sharp, so I'm ready to go.
Absolutely. Now, opening day originally back in 1939, I mean, right at the outset, essentially of World War II. Through it all, though, the game has ebbed and flowed and things evolve, and in this case, we are making Gulfstream Park better than ever, the ultimate fan-friendly destination, and in fact, in the 2 months we were gone, basically, whole bunch of upgrades, improvements, and renovations, beginning, of course, Ronnie, with that new LED infield video board / tote board. You're getting just a little taste of it. It's not finished yet, but it looks outstanding. And these turf courses here, I mean, world class, obviously. And I just love looking around the building, Ronnie, and although there is still some work to be completed, you can literally and physically see the improvements, starting with that new 100 by 30 feet high density pixeled LED screen out in the infield.
And you'll be able to hear the dulcet tones of Pete Aiello with the new enhanced sound system built in the grandstand and in the apron.
Now, with this game, and of course, we'll have some new dining options, and what I really love, of course, is the near 100 stakes races, 39 of which are graded, and it all basically culminates in late January with the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf and Dirt, and of course the Florida Derby in late March. But just looking around, I do love that there's a real sense of history, not only in thoroughbred racing in general, but just specifically talking about Gulfstream Park. And before we move forward into this opening day 10-race program, I do think we have to take just a brief step back and look at what transpired here last season. Not only 2 great renditions of the Pegasus and the first ever on the turf, we had, and I kind of forgot, Ronnie, how tight it was, coming down with just an otherworldly amount of victories between Arad and Luis Saez.
Yeah, I think it went down to the last day or thereabouts. So 135 to 134, and it was just a fantastic beat. And just read, that's the who's who of jockeys in the world right there on the list. And a trainer, first year for Jorge Navarro, winning the training title.
15 consecutive wintertime championship meet titles for Todd Pletcher. Navarro prevented him from winning a 16th in a row. Now, both of those operations are back. In fact, even today, Jorge running 3 on the card. Todd Pletcher will be sending out the likely favorite in the first race, the number 3, Quick Enough. And all the outstanding group there, both on the riders and trainers side, will be back for this 2019-2020 championship season. As far as just looking, and this is a brief summation, there's a lot of great racing beginning at about 12:35, 12:40 today through the end of March. Here's just a little glib, cursory type glance at some of the big afternoons, including, I mean, how about next weekend?
Next weekend's going to be wild. You got the Claimant Crown on Saturday, and if you haven't been to the Caribbean Classic, you have to make a stop here at Gulfstream Park. It is wild. Flags all over the place. People running around for their home countries. It's a great, great, great day. So there you go, Claimant Crown. That's next Saturday and Sunday.
Absolutely. And 6 stakes here tomorrow afternoon, and Florida Breds get their day in the sun, literally, in the Sunshine Millions and figuratively, and the Pegasus World Cup back for a 4th edition in late January on that Saturday, January 25th. No big day, no big meet, no grand marquee type racetrack would be complete without a bevy of very popular multi-race wagers. And the good news for all of us, we've got a slew of them. And just check out that $100,000 guarantee seed money in the jackpot Rainbow Six.
Yeah, if you take it down today, you got that one unique ticket, you can get $100,000. So, and that starts in race number 5 with a 10-race card. And we got the Stronach 5 a little later, too.
Indeed, we do. So $100K, the guarantee in the Stronach 5 this afternoon, and the jackpot Rainbow Six, and linking Well, our family members up in Maryland and, of course, out in Berkeley, California with Laurel Park and Golden Gate Fields, respectively. We're holding down the bottom two races, of course. Our late double comprised the final two cash-out legs, if you will, in today's Stronach 5. More on that after that first time out. So we begin here, and glad you're with us and hope you have a great meet and safe racing as well. And that was paramount, of course, at Gulfstream Park West, and a great job over in Miami Gardens. Now, moving forward, Ronnie, why don't we just dive into, at about 12:40, give or take, that opening pick 5, hoping, fingers crossed, to start out this meet a winner as we take a look. I'm digging the new and improved graphics we have for sure. $27 play for me, and I'm going to single Ronnie, and I built this ticket around Remaster in the third race, hoping he's either the speed of the speed and just flat out faster than the one Henry's World, or even if he goes with Henry's World, he'll put that horse away and just be too good for any of the finishers to run him down.
Yeah, he looks like a logical single there for you. Make your ticket very affordable at $27. And race number 5, you got 3, 5, and 12, and that's where the Rainbow Six starts.
Absolutely. So some overlap there, and I'm 3-7 to begin. And by the way, the turf, of course, that Bermuda Celebration turf course, which was installed a little over a year ago, I mean, really held up well throughout last winter into the spring and summer months. It's pristine. It looks terrific, and that is a big part. In fact, that gets the majority on day number 1, as the first race of the meet, a 2-year-old $25,000 maiden claimer, is the first of 6 today. 6 races on the grass course. Getting in off the bat, you've got a one-and-done type situation for Todd Pletcher with the 3 quick enough. I like this horse dropping down, although he's been a non-factor in 2 races to date. Here's a quick stat. I just opted to pull this in because it was just such an otherworldly type percentage and batting average. You're talking special weight to maiden claiming 2-year-olds at Gulfstream. Predominantly, Todd has not started maiden claimers here in the summer and or the spring. So this is basically a snapshot of horses coming back here basically for the month of December. And the proof, obviously, including 3 of those 9 winners on the turf, is in that graphic.
Yeah, that's a good graphic. 60% win average with a $5 return of investment. Vying for favoritism right now. That is quick enough with the number 2 horse in this race, taking some early money in there, and it's hard to follow.
That is hard to follow. Hard act to follow, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, who's got Victor LeBron, may show some speed for Marcial Navarro. It is funny, though, Ronnie, because in a way I do think the best turf race to date probably belongs to the 7 Big Treasure, who you and I both have in the mix, and he's a big price very early in the wagering. You're one inside with the 6, Took a Cab. Are you looking to just speed pop the field?
Yeah, I figured opening day with that beautiful turf course you've been talking about. This one is dropping to this level. We're talking about Took a Cab and removing the blinkers after vying for lead and fading as the favorite. I like the fact that taking the blinkers off was 50 maidens. That was across town at Gulfstream Park West. Dave Brady, Nick Juarez in the saddle. Going to try and steal the opener and beat Todd Pletcher with quick enough in there.
All right, we'll see what shakes out. 12:35, 12:40, give or take. As we like to say, we're on beach time, but it's all good, and glad you're here enjoying opening day with us at Gulfstream Park. We move on to the second. We hit the main track. This will be the first of 4 today over the fast dirt course as we bring on these $12,500 maiden claimers. And just, we haven't talked, Ronnie and I, ahead of the show per se, but I'm thinking with you taking the 1, which the irony with you picking just for chuckles, I mean, I could go on for days. Are you looking, I'm assuming you're thinking speed might be the way to go early on.
I've been here many, many years, and usually on opening days, speed has been pretty good, and that's what I'm about, judging it on. So we'll see what happens. So I did go with Just for Chuckles. It was 2 for 4 on the money, sprinting here right on the main track, which I like. Going back to the dirt today after a couple trouble starts, steadied a couple of times against similar, going 5 on the Gulfstream turf. It's Mike Yates, 21% with the surface switch. That's where I went with there. You got it further down on your ticket, but I can understand having good advice on top.
Who's one of 2. I think the big nugget of the race is trainer Jorge Delgado. Yeah. No matter how you feel about his horses, I mean, having the 9 good advice off the claim and the number 5 Saradar, who may show some speed, mini jockey Fanny Olson. I think this is, at least on paper, and it might be slight, but I think it's Georgie's race to lose, and I'm looking at just a very, I think, logical appearing contender on paper. You get Delgado off the claim, second time starter with the 9 good advice, and to me, that's pretty sound advice.
Yeah, and we'll see a stat on Jorge Delgado. First after the claim on the dirties, 8 for 29. That's 28%. This is over the past year, 62% in the money. money. 145 is the return of investment. And if you didn't see the crawl, but Pete will let you know later. Blinkers on this afternoon for number 9. Good advice. And we both have Uncle Gregory. You got an Uncle Gregory? I don't.
I do not. I don't have an Uncle Greg. I do, however, like that he's an Uncle Mo, and I think maybe less distance for him. 6 on the dirt might be a better fit than his last dirt race when he was at a mile and finished a well-beaten second. But he is dangerous for Uncle Carlo. I got an Uncle Carlo, all right?
There you go, Uncle Carlo.
All right, let's move on to the third here. We're up in class. I mean, this is clearly, just in terms of the stakes here in the purse, this is the best race so far today, and it looked like a spot. I think we're all waiting to see Wood Wesley Ward, who's had a great year, obviously, and then some with his 2-year-old turf sprinters led by a Breeders' Cup winner in 4-wheel drive. Would he run Alfie Solomons and Remaster? Well, the answer is he's going it alone with Remaster. And speaking of going it alone, check out this high speed. I forgot just how much of a powerhouse this rocket ship Irish bred was in his debut here back towards the end of May, right around Memorial Weekend. He's facing a better field today, and he might not have this kind of easy trip where he's just out there just cruising under wraps. He was pretty good, though, in this race, Ronnie, and I'm thinking he's just well-meant here coming back off the layoff.
Yeah, he's coming back. I mean, this was such an impressive performance, and I think it's an excellent spot for him. But, of course, you got to deal with the fact that this horse hasn't run since May. Is he going to be ready? As you mentioned, Wesley scratches the 4-horse out of here. I got him on top of my ticket. You single him in your early pick 5, and I can understand why. Another horse I was looking at, the horse you have in third, was the 7, Much More Than This, who's debuting locally. He had a pretty consistent campaign in the Mid-Atlantic in which he won 2 or 4 turf sprints, finished third in a $100,000 stake up there, the Howard County. Mike Trombetta, Hall of Fame jock, Edgar Prado in the saddle. I think this horse, I think Remaster is absolutely one to beat, but I thought that Much More Than This comes up with a pretty good resume.
Oh, that horse is dangerous, and I would almost mention that runner as like almost a package deal with the Deuce Dio Forte, and they clearly become they're major players to begin with, but if Remaster needs one off the layoff and/or he can't get away from the one Henry's world, it looks like Dio Forte and the Trombetta shipper are the two that may just simply trip out. It's a possibility and a good little race there for the 2-year-olds on the turf in race number 3. As we harken back to the main track and are fast and firm and the weather just delightful here on opening day, our day 1 program continues with this 2-year-old $25,000 maiden claiming race in which, to me, Ronnie, there's almost a dividing line. Of the horses with experience, it is simply all about King of the Cats, who's run better than anybody in here with afternoon experience. And basically, it's that gelding by Tail the Cat against a couple of potentially well-meant first-time starters. I see you obviously just simply sided with the experience.
Yeah, moved to the Bobby DeBona barn after the claim stretches out to this 3/4 of a mile. Made a run at the lead last time out and settled for a second. That was as the even money favorite, going 5.5 across town at Gulfstream Park West. Nick Juarez in the saddle this afternoon. And I see that you have Jerkari's Fire on top of your ticket. Who you got to figure is going to run well in here?
I would think this horse is probably properly spotted and ready to race. And I know we have a stat. Let's just show the stat with this colt by Japan. And there's not much to say about a really unproven pedigree. Clearly, though, I'm surprised, actually, in this sample, there's only 10 runners. I would think, although I don't think of Navarro as this, guy who's going to give you 1,000 2-year-old starters a year, the fact that he's only run 10, winning 2 with his 2-year-old firsters and maiden claiming races on the dirt.
Yeah, I always find this interesting when I look up his stats that he doesn't have these, overwhelming stats. He doesn't really start that many 2-year-olds here. Now it's changing. He's starting much more as it's going on. Well, his first-time starters, maiden claimers on the dirt, you saw it 20%, 40% in the money. I just think that he's beatable, with his first-time starters. I give now. Second start, different story.
Right. I look, because he had, to your point, Ronnie, where his 2-year-old, obviously his presence in general has grown quite a bit. He's picked up some new clients, Jorge Navarro. He had 4 individual 2-year-old winners across town at Gulfstream Park West. Only one of them, however, was a first-time starter. Right. So I get it. This horse might need a race, but he's clearly, you're playing the multis early. You got to use him just because of the connections. I felt as though the 9 Skybridge might be a little dangerous. And if I'm being candid, I had liked this horse last Friday in the first race at GPW. He scratched there, and he opted to breeze actually about 48 hours later, maybe a little less than 48 hours later, in a very workmanlike breeze here from the gate Monday morning. Now, a couple of points to be had with this first-time starter for trainer Ronnie Spatz. Maybe it's a good sign that he scratched him for 12.5 and he's running for a quarter. This workout, though, again, was kind of on the workmanlike side of things. I noticed, though, Ronnie, I don't know who the exercise rider is, but he does appear probably a little bigger and maybe a little heavier than your average jockey. One thing has been constant, though, with trainer Ronnie Spatz, who sends out Skybridge from Post 9. How good were his horses? I mean, just kind of picking his spots across town at GPW.
Yeah, he had a fantastic week, but he even had a good summer meet here. He was like, doing very well. So always got to look. And like they said, we're talking about Dracari's Fire, a first-time starter. If you don't like King of the Cats, you can beat a first-time starter can run well in this spot. So we'll see how that plays out. And that is one part. How many did you use on your ticket?
I think I just used 2. I didn't like the breeze.
Right.
I think Skybridge has warrant to run well, and I like Ronnie and all that stuff, and he's good with 2-year-olds. The breeze soured me just a little bit because it was a little on the workmanlike side. Regardless, though, we'll see what shakes out in the 4th. We've got a lot of ground remaining here on this opening day edition of Gulfstream Park today. We'll take a little breather, and as we go to break, let's backtrack to City of Light in the 19 Pegasus Dirt.
City of Light comes away with the lead. Joel Rosario says it's time to accelerate, and the Breeders' Cup winner is trying to get to the other Breeders' Cup winner with less than 5/16 to go. A driven third is Tom's Daytona and Something Awesome, and here's the matchup. Accelerate on the outside, City of Light toward the rail. Castellano and City of Light have the lead, and they cut the corner and open up. City of Light puts away Accelerate with 1/8 of a mile to go. At the inside and Seeking the Soul, then Bravazzo, but City of Light keeps going, and City of Light will win it. It's City of Light for Javier Castellano, and a romp in the rain. He won by 5. Second is Seeking the Soul. Third is Accelerate, then Bravazzo and Audible, followed by Gunnavera, True Timber, Imperative, Tom's Daytona, Something Awesome, Kukulkan, and Pattern Recognition in 147. Delta Prince on the outside is now second. Magic Wand at the inside is now third. Yoshida's underway with Bricks and Mortar, and they're at the top of the stretch. Here's Delta Prince to issue the challenge to Catapult up front. Bricks and Mortar into the clear, into the attack with Magic Wand fourth. 1/8 of a mile to go. Bricks and Mortar puts his best foot forward and strides to a clear lead. It's Bricks and Mortar kicking away, and the inaugural Pegasus Turf to Bricks and Mortar, a 3-length winner. Magic Wand got up for second. Delta Prince was third. Fourth was Catapult, as Yoshida was too little, too late.
Was that the start of a big year or what? Bricks and Mortar, first running of the Pegasus World Cup Turf, galloped away, beat an international cast, and by the time the Breeders' Cup Turf wrapped up, Ronnie, about a month ago already, he was 6 for 6, all grade ones throughout the year.
Probable horse of the year, and he was so game in the Breeders' Cup. So we'll see. Bricks and Mortar. Well, he's not coming back, right?
No, I think he's on his way to Japan as we speak. But although I guess a horse like that it's always going to be almost impossible to find a worthy replacement. If there's a guy that's got to come up with a deep turf bench, it's going to be trainer Chad Brown, who once again is back, and he'll have his big string up at both Pace and Park. and up at Palm Beach Downs. So Chad, a big part of the turf and then some during this championship meet. It is opening day, everybody. Welcome back to this live edition of GP Today on the first afternoon of the championship season. And we take a little road trip, Ronnie. It's been neat going back and just, again, reliving some of the great Pegasi of last year. But we do have a road trip planned a bit later on, beginning shortly before 4 p.m. Eastern with leg one of the Stronach 5. We'll have that $100,000 guarantee. We're holding down the fort with the two cash-out legs in our 9th and 10th. And, Ronnie, you're going to take a little opening day stab at the Stronach 5.
Yeah, I put a $72 ticket together, and I went too deep at Laurel. That's where it opens up with alpha betting, 9-2. And the big favorite in the number 4, you got to go with Chicken Dinner. And then I went too deep, even though our buddy up there at Golden Gate single the 5 Taste Legend. I also used...
Oh, you were looking, though. You had to take a peek to see who Matt Dinnerman liked.
Yeah, and I also thought maybe Charlie Cowden, the 2-horse, could run well in there. 1 and 2 deep in the other leg from Laurel, and that is the One Silent Fluidity, and got to have a holiday. Our races are tough, and in race number 10 this afternoon, I got my long shot. My first long shot of the meet, 4 kicks. I think that horse is properly spotted and going to get a good pace, and I think 12-1 on the morning line. So
nice.
I added that to my Stronach 5 ticket.
Sounds good. $72 for Mr. Ron Nicoletti, and we'll come home and we'll be exclusive locally in Hallandale Beach from here on out on this Friday, November 29th, obviously believed to be the earliest opening day ever at Gulfstream Park. I mean, obviously the landscape has changed down here in South Florida over the last decade, but it's great to be back here on a fast and firm, gorgeous weather day in Hallandale, and you've got a daunting task, Ronnie. I'm curious to see just how you played today's $100,000 guaranteed Rainbow Six pool. 2880, but I will say you didn't break the bank, Ronnie. It's a very, very hard sequence of races.
Yeah, very hard. So I just wanted to feel it out, and I went 3 deep in here, and we were just talking before we came back on the air about how tough this 5th race is. I went 3, 8, and 12. And then in the 6th race, I thought Freezer, Burn, and Cozy Dreams were the logical 2. And I mentioned in the 10th race today, I'll go there because we've got a lot to cover in here. Race number 10, I did use my long shot on the ticket, 4 kicks, and Party Dancer in there for $28.80. And right to your right, you see that $100,000 guarantee.
All right. I've got 4 kicks in the mix. Oh, that's the drop down for Von Belsour.
Yeah, I just think it fits nicely in there. So
yeah,
we'll
nice.
see how it runs.
Cool. All right. So there's Ronnie's ticket on this November 29th as we exit a mandatory type situation last Sunday. And although the weatherman didn't fully cooperate, I was happy to see the sequence was pretty formful, a little less than 5,000. So congrats if you hit that. And there's work to be done today, beginning, of course, in race number 5, which is our real first, I think, traditional type Gulfstream Park claiming race where you've got a 12 signed on in this $16,000 3-and-up claiming race. And it's a race, Ronnie, where judging from who you have at least first, I'm thinking you probably saw the same thing I saw on paper. I think there is an incredible amount of early speed, and I look at my point exactly, the 9 specifically, alongside the 10 Adonis Creed, and to me, these two are pretty much almost guaranteed, if there is such a thing in horse racing, to hook up from the gate.
Yeah, I looked at this race and thought absolutely that the 3 National Honor was going to sit the perfect trip in this race. The last year, 2 starts on this turf course and a win and a 3rd against this same caliber competition returns. He does his best running in with that stalking closing position. He's going to get more than enough pace needed to complement his running style. I just thought he was the one to beat in there. So National Honor on top of my ticket. But as we mentioned, tough racing here. But I want to hear about the 5, one I did not use on my ticket.
His last race was bad, and I get that. And I was hoping maybe it was a race where he didn't get much pace and the speeds dominated and he just wasn't able to close. The 5 unlocked the potential. It doesn't appear, at least to my eye, that he had an excuse. But his win 2 back and his win 3 back were both very solid efforts, and I'm hoping for no rhyme or reason, maybe it was just an off day for him on October 19th, and he can turn things around, getting, much like Ronnie's top selection, very honest pace to close into. honest pace may help the 12 bow tie affair. What do you do, though, in a way off that big win? He might be the wild card, but he's marooned all the way outside.
Yeah, you know, he's stretching out to the mile today and stepping up. And I was surprised he won at 7.5 furlongs. And boy, did he win it very well. I'm going to show you a stat with Jose D'Angelo. Just a winner last out, all levels on the turf. He's 4 for 8, 50%, 63% of the money, 290. That's over the past year. This is one of the rising stars here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I wanted to
good
point
trainer.
out this
Yep.
stat here. He does exceptionally well winning consecutive races. So I just a bow tie affair on the outside. He really got this horse to run well. I got him further down my ticket, but I got to watch one today. I
No,
believe.
I'm curious to see how he goes. Do you teach kind of an old gelding some new tricks? And, I mean, he's on the cusp of his 8-year-old birthday, but is coming out of a career-best win. We'll see. But this will be the first starter during a championship meet here at Gulfstream for trainer Jose D'Angelo, who arrived last April, and son of Francisco D'Angelo, so obviously comes from good stock in Venezuela, and a guy, no doubt, to keep an eye on. We're halfway home as we flip the page off what Ronnie and I will think will be a swiftly run fifth race pace, and we come up not only on the second half of the card, but that coincides perfectly with the opening day late pick 5. I'm going to take a little stab here, and in the end, I had to trim Schaug, the number 4 from this opening leg. I'm using 2 second-time starters in Freezer Burn, and I prefer the 8 Cozy Dreams. I wound up singling Patty Heaney for trainer Ralph Nix. I really liked her turf race last time out, and I think she's okay and maybe just simply or hopefully on the improve. And I've got coverage the remainder of the way, including Ronnie's long shot, which I'm happy to hear, the number 4 Kicks, who has jockey Raji Mirage, who has I guess, forgone another cold winter up in South Ozone Park, Queens, and is opted to apply his trade, which we're happy about here at Gulfstream Park. So $27 for me, and off the bat, Ronnie, I like this race quite a bit, this upcoming 6th race, and I know you picked Freezer Burn, and the thing with Freezer Burn, and we'll go back to her last start and only race to date on October 13th, I love that you've got representation from 4 different Gulfstream Park West maiden races. The tricky part, of course, is who's coming out of the best race, who's the one that you want, maybe who's the most talented. She ran very well first time out. I said it to you, though, last weekend when Gallet Jack came out of this race. She got a good figure and all that stuff. I just wonder the strength of this race. She ran fine, a good building block race to get her going, and I used her, but there's a part of me that says, you know, this Choose Joy race maybe wasn't the strongest field we ran across town for the 2-year-old fillies.
Well, let me show you a stat with Mr. David Forks with his 2-year-olds making their 2nd career start right here at Gulfstream Park. He's 9 for 35, and that is 26%. He's in the money 63% of the time, and he's got a good return of investment, 345. And one of the angles at Gulfstream Park is David Forks making his 2nd start. So that's always something you got to look at. So up there, Freezer Burn. But I can understand having Cozy Dreams on top of your ticket.
She ran unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, she really ran a good race. We'll take actually a trio of looks, beginning with the head-on from the start. A lot went on, a lot went on, and a lot went on that was pretty poor with her. She's in the red cap. You probably could have guessed that. She's already last there after a very, very tough beginning, and certainly behind the 8 ball, mere strides into her debut. Here's that head-on. She smacked the gate. She got cut off. She steadied. She was off a step slow to begin with, and she was way out of it. Now, this, to be fair, was a race where the speeds melted down, but I'm still going to give a 2-year-old first-time starting filly on this particular day right before Halloween some credit, given how far back she was, the amount of kickback that she had to take, and the fact that she was able to close and basically split horses like a 20-race veteran who had been over there countless times. Very good debut out of her for a very good trainer in Scott Becker.
Yeah, she was 11 lengths behind the pace after that bad beginning, and she closed very well. And I am in agreement. When you see a horse, a 2-year-old, especially splitting horses and running, getting, I think she's got a lot of upside there. Like Freezer Burn a little bit, but I use both of those horses on my ticket.
And it is actually another sort of sidebar to this race. You've got 4 of the 8 are by Kozan, including, coincidentally, the people that campaigned Kozan Kozan. He was awesome, but he only ran a couple of times before he was retired. And Al Shakab Racing, who's in the mix with the 4 Shaug. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first horse trainer Ralph Nix is running for Al Shakab. And they're obviously a good client to have. And Ralph, obviously, his reputation speaks for itself.
Yeah, you know, Ralph does an excellent job. So, an independent misses one. Mike Yates, Rajiv Mirage handling inside draw today. We basically have the same 4, just boxed around a little bit different.
Right. You've got the Al Shakab firster against the 3 second-time starters. So nice little race there to kick off the Battle of the Kozans in the late pick 5. Flipping the page, and I'm going to stay with that Ralph Nix theme as we step back on the turf and stay with the 2-year-old fillies, but we are up to winners here in a good-sized field of winners. In fact, with 11 ready to rumble. And again, Ronnie, just not trying to reinvent the wheel in a race that I'm going into this under the opinion and off the strengths of the 4 Patty Heaney. And I feel like her turf debut against an easier field of maidens, obviously, but I still think that was a high watermark, and hoping she's just simply heading this direction.
Yeah, she ran very well over there. MSCL Jaramillo going for 2 in a row. 4 trainer Ralph Nix. I did go with the number 6 in here, Flash Money, who's stepping up to face the winners also today. Like the 4, after responding to both the drop down in competition and the surface switch with a front-running victory, going 5 furlongs across town. It's a daughter of Flash Storm. He's in the first flight today playing Catch Me If You Can. Getting to my theme, I'm looking for speed this afternoon.
Well, I was going to say, even having the 7, Life on the Edge.
Yeah.
I thought those 2, and I've got Life on the Edge second, of course. I'm not trying to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but it looks like they're almost like, if you had to say, give me the 2, I want the 2 fastest in here, it's your pick and the 7, Life on the Edge.
Yeah, Life on the Edge, a solid winner, going a mile up at Maryland with Chase and Fade 7, but that was against better. Kelly Breen, Nick Juarez, surface switch this afternoon. I think that one runs well, but I'm going to go with Flash Money. Now, as the day progresses, this is race number 7. We'll know how the turf course and everything has been playing. So this is early on. I usually go with speed, like I said, on opening day.
All right, Tony Martinez and his crew, an excellent job across town during the Gulfstream Park West meeting. Safe racing, terrific racing, and obviously hoping for more of that here as we get started at Gulfstream Park for the championship season. Final dirt race, just talking about any sort of potential trends or biases or anything like that. We do come up on our last dirt race and, in fact, our opening day feature on day 1 of the winter meet. We've got a good field here in this 2 other than 62K allowance optional claimer. And like some of the other races we've already discussed, specifically the 5th that you and I both feel that will potentially melt down, man, I see a lot of speed in this race between your top pick, the number 4, Cool Arrow, the number 3, Baby I'm Perfect, and I'm hoping it's a simple case of there's no place like home for this horse, and we'll bring you back to Green Mansions here, winning second to last week of the summer meet. This was a horse I remember and he was a big price, so it wasn't like I was going out on a limb. I just didn't like him in this race, thinking that he just wouldn't be able to really punch on and with that closing brush be able to sustain it in a race as long as a mile. Well, he won, he got a fast figure, and he really ran a good race, beating a couple of the horses that he's going to knock heads with today. He didn't run as well in his most recent start, in my humble estimation, but it was a 2-turn mile at Gulfstream Park West. Like I said, this ain't a road game for him today. This is a home game for him, right out of his stall, back to what I think ultimately, I'm hoping that effort we just looked at was the start of a horse, or at least maybe a little glimpse of a horse that really will relish a 1-turn mile.
Yeah, so he's run well here, as you said in the past. I have him further down. I did go with the speed in here, Cool Arrow, 3 for 5 at a mile. So I like that. Stretches out after a pair of in-the-money finishes against similar. Sprinting across town, Terry Pompey, MSCL Jaramillo atop this son of Into Mischief. Richard the Great on my ticket, too. He's cutting back to this 1-turn mile.
What do you do with him, though? I mean, talk about him as far as, I mean, are you totally confident he's going to run today?
Yeah, I mean, I put him on my ticket. You got him a little further down there. So, yeah, you know, he's cutting back. He pressed the pace and faded to finish 5th. That was in the mile in the 16th. $75,000 Millions Classic preview. He's a 7-year-old with abundance of back class, and he loves it here. He's 14 starts, 5 wins. The old horse for course angle. I think he can run well today.
Well, we'll see with him. His return off the layoff was, and in hindsight, he had a good trip and a wet track that he clearly adores, but that was a gigantic effort that came up fast. He didn't run as well maybe out of his element at this stage of the game. So he's a player for sure and a little bit of a wild card, as is perhaps, speaking of horses, and I don't like the 6 Fortune Cookie. He's just, to me, his combination of his form having gone sideways, but he had success here last season as a 4-year-old and 3-year-old.
Yeah, so one of these tough races here on opening day that you got to try and figure out the puzzle.
All right, I'm taking Green Mansions. Ronnie's going to try to speed pop them with the 4 Cool Arrow, who I think will run well for Terry Pompey, and we'll set our sights and our green thumb here for the first half of an all-turf late double, a $16,000 ninth race 3-and-up claimer that you and I clearly, Ronnie, are just very logical here. In fact, between the 7 Power Walker and the 9 Mission Driven, they're going to be the top 2 choices, I think, by a good way.
Yeah, I mean, you got Georgina Baxter training Power Walker and Jorge Navarro with Mission Review. They looked like the logical 2. Power Walk was fresh and rallied to finish second behind Hard Knock and King Orb. Pair of next out winners, so it was a good race. Mission Driven, 3 for 4 of the races, is winner of 3 of 4 races right here at Gulfstream Park. Jorge Victor LeBron handling. Horse for course play.
And Flomotion, meanwhile, for Jane Zabelli is yet another, and obviously it goes with the territory at this time of the year. You're going to have shippers galore, an abundance of horses who are coming in from out of town. We had noted, though, and you'll see some chatter in regards to this throughout the afternoon with some of my pre-race keys. Jane Sabelli's Jersey and Maryland shippers were very good over in Miami Gardens.
Yeah, they just ran exceptionally well. And one thing about Jane, she always spots her horses in the right spot where they have a chance to win it. So we got 10 races today. My long shot's in the last. Let's see if we can get it done with the 4 kicks.
Who's taking a drop? I think this horse is real dangerous in for 16.
Well, he ran well against this caliber competition here last winter. He drops, after failing to fire, but that was those 35 optional claimers. That was going a mile in the 16th across town. Yvonne Belsour, Rajiv Moran to top this. He's a late running long shot play for me in here. I think he gets a nice pace. Good spot. Party Dancer in second and Chasing Helicity in third.
I took Henny's Treasure in what amounts to a scramble. It's funny, I didn't realize your long shot, A, would be the number 4 kicks, and B, would be 12-1, because when I went through this, my initial thought was your 4 kicks was kind of the horse I built everything off of and felt as though maybe she was the biggest key to the race with her dipping in for 16. Her form hasn't been good. Henny's Treasure coming in off a little bit of a layoff. I think this is a real scramble, though, Ronnie, to cap the card.
Yeah, definitely. That's why you look for a horse that maybe you get a little bit of a price with.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Now, as we wrap up, we've got Pete Aiello coming up with those opening day scratches and changes. We've also got a horse wrapping up the first show who's classy, fast, and just terrific. It's Maximum Security in the Florida Derby.
The coat of honor is scrubbed on. He's not gaining much ground. Union's Destiny is called in the day.